Debt is something that we avoid talking about in the military. And so today I wanted to talk about how to handle debt in the military, especially when there are debt collectors calling you and telling you that you have to pay them back. We'll talk about everything that you need to know about collections debt and how you can avoid being scammed in the military, which happens a lot more than you think. We'll go over what you should do if you already have debt that's in collections, what to do when debt collectors start threatening you, what your legal rights are, and whether or not you should even pay back the debt. So before you pay off any debt that's in your collections, go ahead and watch this entire video. With all that being said, let's get you educated. So first, what actually happens when your debt goes into collections? Well, there are two things that could happen. One is that the original creditor is going to use their own debt collecting agency to get the money from you. Basically, they're going to be the ones to contact you and talk to you about how you can pay off the debt. The second scenario is when a different company purchases the debt that you owe to the original creditor, and so now it's their job to collect the money from you. And this is where things can get a little bit tricky, so let's go over some of the things that you should know. The first thing you should know is that you shouldn't pay it off right away. If they call you, you don't even want to admit to the debt, and definitely don't promise that you'll pay anything during that call. During that first call, you should be asking for information such as who the original creditor was. Sometimes the debt actually expires when they're sold to a different company. So if it's expired, then you won't need to pay it off anymore. So if you admit that it is your debt on the first call, then it could bring it back from the expiration. So during this call, what you do want to get is just information on the actual debt itself. And you're also going to want to get the business name, the email, the address, and a phone number to call them back. This is important because if you have their name and their address, you can actually search them up and see if they're legally operating in your state. And from there, you're going to want to double check with your original creditor and make sure that there aren't any mistakes on your new debt. Sometimes the amount that they say you owe is wrong, and you also want to ask for proof of the debt collector's claim that you owe money. They'll probably give you a copy of your credit card bill or something like that so that you can keep a copy for yourself. But yeah, just get all of this information on the first call. Don't promise that you're going to pay anything. Don't pay anything off. If it's already in collections, then just wait until you hear the rest of this video. Now, the next thing that you need to know is that debt collectors can't harass you. This basically means that they can't make you pay more than you owe. They can't threaten you with an arrest or jail time or garnishing your wages. These are all common tactics that they use to try and scare the person into paying off the debt. And if they try this on you, then you should probably hang up. You're probably dealing with some sort of scam. And so if they keep on bothering you, you can actually have them stop. The way to do this is by actually sending the agency a handwritten letter and basically just tell them to stop communicating with you. Once you do this, they can either respond with, hey, we're gonna stop pursuing you, or they're gonna say that they're gonna take action against you and maybe file a lawsuit or something like that. It's all just a bunch of guilt tripping to get the person to pay off the debt. But now the last thing that I wanna talk about is whether or not you should even pay it off. Now, this might sound a little bit weird, like, hey, shouldn't I be paying off my debt? And yes, you should be paying off your debt if it's not in the collections already. If it is, then it pretty much already hurt your credit score and there's no way to go back. Sometimes you could talk to these agencies and see if you can get the bad mark on your credit report removed. And that's pretty much the only scenario where I would negotiate and actually pay off the debt. Other than that, it's not worth it because your credit score is already damaged. And so paying it off is not gonna boost your score or do anything. So if you do decide to pay for it, you definitely want to negotiate and try to figure out a win-win situation. And always make sure that any agreement that you guys come to, you guys have that either written or on an email. The last thing you want to do is talk to these agencies and have them convince you that they're going to take that bad mark off of your credit report, only for them to not actually do that because you guys didn't write anything out. Just like how you sign out gear that's issued to you in the military, you should always be taking a picture of everything that you sign. And yeah, basically anything that you agree to, you should always have a copy of it. The last thing I want to talk about now is how you can actually avoid getting into debt in the first place. And this will hopefully get a lot of you guys out there to reconsider some of your spending habits in the military. So obviously the best way to avoid this is by not getting into debt in the first place. So that basically means that you should never buy something on credit unless you can afford it 2 to 3 times over. This might be common sense for most of you guys watching, but I hear all the time that there's always somebody who, puts a big purchase on their credit card when they can't afford it and then they just worry about it later. Now, I get it if you had to use credit to pay for something like an emergency or surgery or something like that. I'm not talking to those people. You know who you are, and if you're spending a large amount of money on credit that you can't afford on dumb crap, then I recommend just take a week to think about it, and whatever you want, if you still want it after a week, then yeah, I would consider buying it if you can't afford it. If you can't afford it, then just don't get it, and chances are after about a week, you're probably gonna forget about it anyways. Another thing I wanna say, and I feel like this is super important, and that is you want to reach out to your command and get advice from people in your unit. I guarantee you there's someone in your unit who knows a thing or two about money, is financially responsible, and can give you really good advice. So if you're struggling with your money, you need to put your ego aside, you need to put your pride aside, and you need to go out there and get advice from people who are actually financially successful. I know especially in the Marine Corps, I think ego gets in the way a lot of the times. And I've had so many Marines in the past come up to me and tell me that they're in debt when it's already in collections. All those times I wish they told me sooner, because then I would have been able to help them actually attack their debt. That way they could avoid the debt even going into collections in the first place. But not only that, but after I had those Marines reach out to me, I went ahead and I asked all of my Marines, and I actually found out that there were a lot more Marines that were in debt, but they just weren't saying anything. I don't know why, but I think we need to change that. We need to be there for one another, and we also need to start talking about some of our struggles and just making it an open conversation. But yeah, that's enough of my tangent. I hope you guys got some value out of this video. If you know someone who is in debt in the military or they have debt in collections, please send them this video. And if you guys are interested in learning more about finance, I have other videos on this channel for topics such as credit or even just side hustles that you could do in the military. So yeah, check those out, and please consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and it'll help get this video out to other military members. And yeah, comment down below what video you'd like to see next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.